In this video, let's see methods of interfacing I/O devices with 8085 microprocessor, buffer, and input and output port structure. First of all, let's see interfacing I/O device methods. Using I/O devices, data can be transferred between microprocessor and outside world. This data transfer can be done by means of two methods. First one is parallel I/O interfacing and second one is serial I/O interfacing. In parallel I/O interfacing, 8-bit data bus of I/O device is directly connected to data bus of microprocessor. This data transfer can be done in group of 8-bit using the entire data bus. That is, 8-bit data of I/O devices get connected to data bus of 8085 or microprocessor. This type of data transfer or interfacing is called parallel I/O data transfer or interfacing. Next method is serial I/O data transfer. Here, one bit is transferred at a time. In 8085, we can have two pins, namely serial input data SID pin, and in order to output data from microprocessor, we can have another pin, that is SOD pin, serial out data. Content of accumulator is transferred to output port, that is one bit, by means of SOD pin, and similarly one bit of data can be taken inside microprocessor by means of SID pin. So here one bit is transferred at a time. So this method is usually termed as serial I/O data transfer. In this case, 8-bit data is directly transferred, parallelly transferring from I/O device to microprocessor and vice versa. So that method is parallel I/O data transfer or parallel I/O interfacing. Now let's see type of parallel interface. There are two ways to interface 8085 with I/O devices in parallel transfer mode. First one is memory mapped I/O scheme and second one is I/O mapped I/O scheme. Let's see memory mapped I/O scheme. In memory mapped I/O scheme, it consider I/O device like any other memory location. They are assigned a 16-bit address within the address range of 8085. The exchange of data with these devices follow the transfer of data with memory. Therefore, the users uses same instruction used for memory related operation. So in order to take data from memory into accumulator, we can have a lot of instruction. So such a type of instruction we can utilize in order to take data from I/O device. Why? Because in this scheme, I/O device is also treated as a memory. So this is the total address range, that is 0000H2 FFFFH, that is 64K. How many locations are there? There are 65536 location. Out of this 65536 location, some location is provided for I/O device. So I/O device is also treated as a separate part of this memory location which is coming in this range. So all the instruction which can be used for memory related operation, that is also used for I/O data transfer when we are using this scheme. Next scheme is I/O mapped I/O scheme. This scheme treats I/O devices like separately from memory. Memory is having range 0000H2 FFFFH. That is allotted for memory related operation. Similarly, for I/O device, there assign one location which is starting from 00 to FFH. Separate location is provided for I/O devices. This scheme is termed as I/O mapped I/O scheme. I/O devices are assigned a port number within the 8-bit address range of 00H to FFH. The user in this case would access these devices using in and out instruction only. For example, in 18, whenever this instruction is executed, content of port number 18 is transferred into accumulator. Similarly, out 88, whenever this instruction is executed, content of the accumulator is transferred to this port number 88. So, in memory mapped I/O scheme, the same address space is used for both memory and I/O devices. The microprocessor uses the 16-bit address line A0 to A7 and A8 to A15, that is MSB address and LSB address, for memory as well as for I/O devices. The I/O devices shares the address space with the memory, and all the memory related instructions are used for addressing I/O devices also. There is no need of separate in and out instruction in order to communicate with the I/O devices. Here, I/O by M bar is not required in order to distinguish the address on address bus is for memory related operation or I/O related operation. Why? Because I/O device is already treated as an element inside this memory range. Then when we are considering the steps for memory related operation, that is read and write operation, suppose when we are executing the instruction like loading the content of any memory location into accumulator or storing the content of accumulator into any of the address, the microprocessor places the 16-bit address in address bus. Then in second clock cycle, RD bar signal is activated for read operation. If it is write operation in second clock cycle, WR bar signal is activated, that is WR bar signal goes low in order to handle write operation. When we are considering steps for I/O operation, that is I/O read and I/O write, we can use same steps which is used for memory operation. Why? Because I/O is a part in memory within range 00000 to FFFF. Similarly, when we are considering I/O mapped I/O scheme, in I/O mapped I/O scheme, the microprocessor uses 16-bit address, that is A0 to A15 for memory, and 8-bit address line, that is A0 to A7 to identify input or output device. Here, the full address space starting from 0000 to FFFH is used for memory, and separate space, that is 00 to FF, is used for I/O devices. Therefore, microprocessor can address 2 raised to 16 memory location and 256, that is 2 raised to 8 I/O devices separately. Here, in and out instructions are used to activate I/O by M bar signal. Whenever I/O by M bar signal is active high, then address on address bus is for I/O related operation. Whenever I/O by M bar is low, address in address bus is for memory related operation. When we are considering memory related operation, memory read and memory write in I/O mapped I/O scheme, just like earlier when we are loading the content of memory location into accumulator or saving the content of accumulator into any of the location, under that condition microprocessor places 16-bit address in address bus. Then microprocessor makes I/O by M bar signal low. Then microprocessor makes RD bar signal low during second clock cycle in order to handle read operation. If processor is doing write operation during second clock cycle, WR bar signal goes low. Similarly, when we are considering I/O operation, that is I/O read and I/O write, when I/O related instruction like in and out instructions are used, microprocessor places 8-bit address on address bus A0 to A7 and A8 to A15. Then I/O by M bar line is made high. Then microprocessor makes RD bar signal low during second clock cycle for read operation, and WR bar signal is made low during second clock cycle for write operation. So it is to be noted that in memory mapped I/O scheme, I/O by M bar signal is not required, but in I/O mapped I/O scheme, in order to select an I/O port, it is essential to make I/O by M bar signal active high. That is, I/O by M bar signal is essential in I/O mapped I/O scheme. Now let's see the difference between I/O mapped I/O scheme and memory mapped I/O scheme in detail. In memory mapped I/O scheme, I/O device is treated as memory. In I/O mapped I/O scheme, it is treated as I/O device itself. In memory mapped I/O scheme, in order to address I/O device, it requires 16-bit addressing, but in I/O mapped I/O scheme, it requires only 8-bit addressing. In memory mapped I/O scheme, it requires more decoder hardware, but here in I/O mapped I/O scheme, it requires less decoder hardware. In memory mapped I/O scheme, it can address 2 raised to 16, that is 64 location, but in I/O mapped I/O scheme, it can address 2 raised to 8, that is 256 location. In memory mapped I/O scheme, as I/O device is a part of total memory, less memory is available, but in I/O mapped I/O scheme, I/O device is treated as separate location starting from 00 to FF. The entire memory address space is available. Another point is that in memory mapped I/O scheme, as I/O device is a part of memory, all memory related instruction can be used for transferring data. But in I/O mapped I/O scheme, it requires special instruction, that is in instruction and out instructions. Next part is buffer. A digital buffer is a single input device that does not invert or perform any type of logical operation on its input signal. In other words, the logic level of output is same as that of input. Whatever be the input, that will be output. The buffer is a logic circuit that amplify the current or power. Buffer is used primarily to increase the driving capacity of a logic circuit. Therefore, it is also known as a driver. This is the symbolic representation of a buffer, and this is the truth table. A is input and Q is output. If input is 0, output is 0. If input is 1, output is 1. We can read this operation as A gives Q, 0 gives 0, 1 gives 1, like this. Then another important thing is tri-state device, that is tri-state buffer. Tri-state logic device have 3 states: logic 1 or low, logic 0 or high, and high impedance state. A tri-state logic device has an extra input line called enable pin. When this line is active, that is enabled, a tri-state device function in the same way as that of ordinary logic devices. When this enable pin is not activated, that is disabled, the logic device goes into a high impedance state, as if it is disconnected from the system and practically no current is drawn from the system. As it is opened, it is in high impedance state. This is the symbolic representation of active high tri-state buffer. In addition to the input pin and output pin, there is another pin known as enable pin. As this is the active high tri-state buffer, whenever this enable pin is active high, then only data transfer will take place. When enable pin is high, whatever be the input, that is available as that of output. We can read as output is equal to input if enable is equal to 1. If enable is 1, A gives Q. If enable is 0, it will enter into high impedance state. The circuit will be in open condition. This is the symbolic representation of low tri-state buffer. As seen here, we can see a bubble that indicate active low. Whenever enable signal is active low, then only data transfer will take place. We can read this as output is equal to input if enable is not equal to 1. That is, if enable is 0, A gives Q. If enable is high, that is 1, the state goes to high impedance state. Next important part is input and output port structure. An I/O port is a place where loading and unloading of data take place. An input device is connected to microprocessor through input port. Data from input device is stored temporarily in a register 8-bit latch. The output of this latch is connected to a tri-state buffer. If this enable pin is activated, then only this data is transferred to data bus of 8085 microprocessor. So to read data from input device, MUPI generate a device select pulse using address lines, IO by M bar signal and RD bar signal. Thus, the data from input device is transferred into data bus if buffer is get enabled. So this portion is output port. So an input port may contain 8-bit latch which temporarily hold the data from input device, then a tri-state buffer. So this part create an input port. Similarly, this is the structure of output port. Here the data is transferred from microprocessor into output device through output port. Here this circuit contains buffer plus 8-bit register. 8-bit register temporarily hold this data. Whenever by means of this device logic, when buffer is enabled, then only that data is transferred into output device. So this portion is output port. Just like input port, it contains buffer that is not separately shown here and 8-bit register.